Hello, my name is Tor Idhamar. I work for IDCON, a reliability and maintenance management consulting firm. Today we're going to talk about one reason why we have very disorganized, ineffective, and in many cases too many preventive maintenance actions in our systems. So let's look at the slide here behind me. What we typically see is, let's say we have this hydraulic unit and we need to set up our PMs. So someone says it's a hydraulic unit, so we're going to take a lubricator, and the lubricator says, well, I'm going to check, let's say the red check mark represents tank level, the orange is the temperature, for example. There's a lot more to do to this hydraulic unit, obviously, but just as an example. A few months later, we say, you know what, we should have oil testing on this hydraulic unit, which is a great thing. Of course, we should have that, right? So we add the oil testing. But when we add the oil testing, of course, we might as well check the level. It doesn't take much time, but let's say it could be something else too, right? It doesn't have to be just a checking the level. It can be something more extensive. And then we do the oil testing, represented by the blue, etc. Now, after a while, the mechanical department says, we had a failure with this hydraulic unit here. The pump failed, started leaking too much, or whatever maybe. Perhaps it's cavitating, right? So we say, now we need to do inspection of that pump and this whole hydraulic unit. So they take the hydraulic unit and they add a number of tasks to this hydraulic unit. And then we have some bearings failing. So what do we do then? Well, of course, the vibration analysis start taking their part of it, and they start adding some tasks. And then we have instrumentation. Of course, we have some solenoid valves and what have you on this, and they say, well, we need to do some PMs on this task a little bit later. And then we have some more failures, and process control gets involved. Nobody's really sure what they're doing, but they add some tasks to this, right? And then a little bit later, we say, well, we're going to start a TPM project or operator basic care project. So we need to have operators go check this, and they add a number of tasks. And then we have an electrical failure on this poor thing, so we're going to add some electrical PM tasks. And then the electrical departments, a few months later, they buy an infrared camera, so they're adding some tasks. So what we've seen is that this is often how PM systems are built. Granted, there's more problems here with building PM systems, that we need to have the right tasks and the right process and doing an analysis and so forth. But we add a number of tasks, so now we have this humongous system with a lot of tasks, and they're highly disorganized. And in most CMMS systems, computerized maintenance management systems, we can't just click on a piece of equipment and easily see all the preventive maintenance tasks. So it's hard to find this information, and sometimes, well, most of the time, there are many different systems. The infrared thermography is in a special system. The vibration analysis is in SKF or software. Operations maybe on Excel sheets. It's very hard to get a grip on all this. And the error we did from the beginning was that we start just adding PMs by department, if you want to call it nicely, but really just ad hoc. Different failures induced us to just add on PMs. So our PM system is completely out of control, and we have 100 people doing 100 of the same task. So what should we have done instead? Well, it's quite obvious, right? So instead, we should have started with equipment needs, and we need to look at the equipment and say, what does this equipment need? So if we just take motor, for example, that electrical motor sitting on the unit, we say, what does this motor actually need? What are the inspections and PM tasks this motor needs? Well, it needs 6 or 7 different tasks and inspections. We need to check the temperature. We need to check the vibration on the bearings. We need to check maybe that it's clean. We need to make sure the junction box is not damaged. We need to check the air intake. We need to check the hold down bolts. If it's a really important motor, maybe we do even do some motor testing on this motor, etc., etc. Once we know what needs to be done, then we can say, okay, how often do we do each task based on the failure development period, right? And then we can decide who's doing each task. So now we have an organized approach. And this is true even if you're trying to revamp your existing PM system or if you're setting up PM for new equipment. But that thought process of actually going from the equipment needs to who's doing the task instead of just ad hoc adding PMs are an incredibly important part of the PM process. Well, anyways, thanks for listening. I hope you picked up something from this video, and please subscribe. So we'll talk more about PM setups and planning and scheduling, root cause, and so forth in our future videos. Thanks for listening. Thank you very much.